Om Swastiastu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita bersama. Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to all of you ladies and gentlemen, all of the participants to this beautiful occasion. First of all, we would like to greet our guests of honor this afternoon, Honorable the Vice Governor of Bali, Professor Chok Oke Sukawati, and then also the Rector of Udayana University, who is represented today by the Head of Institute of Research and Community Service, Professor Dr. Inyoman Suarsana, the Head of Center of Excellence for Tourism Studies of Udayana University, Dr. Ana Agung Suryawan Wiranata, and then also Professor Noel Scott from the University of Sunshine Coast, Australia, Bapak Tantowi Yahya, the President of the United University Foundation, and also Ibu Osi Indrawardani, the Head of Marketing, Media and Partnership of GDP Ventura, distinguished moderators, participants, ladies and gentlemen. We are very grateful and very happy to welcome you all to this beautiful occasion, as today we are gathered here in the online seminar and we will discuss about reputation. Well, talking about reputation, reputation itself is viewed as traits, perception, general opinion of people that measure the respect and also admiration or trust a person or entity has earned, so it is often perceived as a quality. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in this last day of March 2023, we are gathered in this beautiful afternoon. So we would like to welcome you all to this online seminar, Destination Reputation, How to Manage. Yes, let's give a round of applause for all of us. Thank you so much. I'm Dian Ariswari, your MC for today, and I hope that all of the participants, the moderators, as well as the speakers will be full of energy in this afternoon, because today we're going to discuss about one important matters. But before we start the discussion, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we will start it by singing first the national anthem of Indonesia. This is Indonesia Raya. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the attractiveness of a destination describes the popularity of a tourism destination. Thus, to increase the awareness of a destination, it is very important as well to increase the reputations of the tourism destination itself. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will hear a welcome greetings delivered by the Head of Center of Excellence for the Tourism Studies of Udayana University. Please welcome, this is Bapak Ana Agung Suryawan Wiranata, PhD.
Om Swastiastu. My God bless us. Very good afternoon to all of us. Honorable and respected keynote speaker and invited speakers, Vice Governor of Bali, Professor Chok Oke Sukawati, Professor Noel Scott from the Sunshine Coast University, Australia, Ambassador Tantowi Yahya, the President of United in Diversity Foundation, Ms. Osi Indra Wardani, the Head of Marketing, Media and Partnership at GDP Venture. Distinguished guests, Rector of Udayana University, who is represented by Head of the Institute of Research and Community Services, Professor Nyoman Swarsana, Head of Tourism Government Office Bali Province, Regencies and City in Bali, Chairman of all Tourism Association in Bali Province, Regencies and Cities in Bali, other distinguished guests who cannot be mentioned one by one, all participants, ladies and gentlemen. Please allow me to express my warm welcome to all of you who are attending this half-day online seminar titled Destination Reputation, How to Manage. I would like to convey my gratitude to you for taking your precious time to participate in this webinar, which is organized by the Center of Excellence in Tourism, or we call Pusat Unggulan Pariwisata, at Udayana University, Bali. This webinar provides a forum for researchers, tourism practitioners, tourism professionals, and policymakers to exchange information and issues in tourism, and also to facilitate the sharing experiences and further collaboration and networking in tourism area. As we know, after the most difficult situation for tourism worldwide due to the COVID-19 pandemic, hoping tourism to come back in the new era. However, many problems and issues have arisen in the new era, particularly in Bali, as one of the most world favorite tourism destination. These problems and issues are considered to have impact on the destination reputation. Many discussion within a group of social media. We have heard a lot of things about this issue and problem. So today, this webinar is trying to discuss in more detail related to the destination reputation. The Vice Governor of Bali is expected to outline what he has been done, undertaken in Bali in relation to manage the destination regulation, the destination reputation through the regulation. Professor Noel Scott is outlined further detail about what the destination reputation is and how to manage in the perspective of academicians. Ambassador Tantowi Yahya then is hoping to give several examples from New Zealand's experiences because he was the ambassador Indonesia in New Zealand. The last but not least, we have Ms. Osi Indra Wardani is sharing about the reputation solution. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to thanks for everyone who has been involved and supporting this webinar. My sincere thanks and gratitude to Udayana University, Bamboo Media, Antera Live, who provided this online facilities, our MC Dian, moderators who support this webinar. I am also would like to thanks to the organizing committee who has been working very hard to provide and preparing this kind of webinar this afternoon. Finally, to Rector of Udayana University, please kindly later give us your message and declare this webinar officially open. Thank you very much. Om Santi Santi, Santi Om.
Thank you so much to Bapak Ana Agung Suryawan Wiranata, PhD. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, in today's digital environment, reputation is more important, persuasive, unforgettable, and also meaningful than ever. To build, sustain, and also protect the reputation of a destination is not an easy job, but to damage it, it can happen just in minutes. So now this afternoon, we are very grateful to have the rector of Udayana University, who is represented by the head of the Institute of Research and Community Service of Udayana University. He will deliver his opening remarks, and then after that, it will be followed by the official opening of our online seminar. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, this is Professor Dr. Inyoman Suarsana.
Om Swastiastu. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Namo Buddhaya, salam sehat. Dear distinguished guests and esteemed colleagues, allow me to read the remark of the director. First of all, let us express our gratitude to the Almighty God for their blessing that make it possible for us to meet on this online international seminar. I would specifically like to express our highest appreciation to the keynote speaker, the Vice Governor of Bali, Bapak Profesor Tjokordo Oke Ardanus Kuwati. Despite of his tight schedule, he is still able to share his time to us to this important seminar. Highlight thanks also to distinguished three invited speakers. First to Professor Noel Scott from University of the Sunshine Coast, Australia. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here this afternoon. Bapak Tantowi Yahya, former Indonesian ambassador for New Zealand and currently the president of United in Diversity Foundation, and Ibu Osi Indra Wardani, head of marketing media and partner as GDV Venture, and Honorable Head of Center Excellence in Tourism Udayana University, Bapak Ana Agung Putu Agung Suryawan Wiranata, PhD. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the online international on destination reputation, how to manage. Udayana University, through Center of Excellence in Tourism, is proud to host this event and provide a platform for experts and professionals to share their insight on this critical issue. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, managing tourism destination has become more important than ever, especially in the post-pandemic era. As the world slowly emerges from the pandemic, we are witnessing significant changes in travel trends that have important implications for tourism destination. Let me provide you with three reasons why managing tourism destination is a critical issue today. First, the managing had led to a surge in domestic tourism. Many people are choosing to explore their own country rather than traveling abroad. This trend presents is unique opportunity for tourism destination to attract local visitors, but it also requires careful management to ensure that destinations are prepared to cater to the needs of domestic travelers. Second, health and safety have become a top priority for travelers. Destination that can provide a safe and healthy environment for the visitor will be more attractive in the post-pandemic area. Managing destination reputation is crucial in this regard, as perception of safety and cleanliness can significantly impact of destination appeal to potential visitor. The terms traveler are increasingly seeking authentic and sustainable experience. They want to explore local culture and community, and they are increasingly conscious of the environmental impact of their travel. Managing destination reputation is essential to ensure that destination can offer authentic and sustainable experience that meet the need of modern travel. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the speaker and organizers from the Center of Excellence in Tourism at Udayana University for making this conference possible. I am confident that this event will be a valuable platform to experts and professionals to share their insight and expression on destination reputation management. The last, thank you, and I wish you all a productive and enjoyable seminar. By saying Om Awigenap Bastu, International Seminar on Destination Reputation, How to Manage is hereby official opened. Thank you. Om Santi, Santi, Santi. Om. Terima kasih.
Thank you so much to Professor Dr. Inyoman Suarsana for officially open our online seminar, Destination Reputation, How to Manage. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as our seminar title is about destination reputation and how to manage, one of the well-known tourism destinations, of course, is Bali, our beloved island. The reputations of Bali as a tourism destination has been built a long time, and up till now, we still try always to increase the reputations of Bali's tourism. And this afternoon, we are also very happy to have the Vice Governor of Bali that sent us his warm welcome and also his warm greetings to all of the participants of our online seminar. And don't forget as well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, that reputation is built on beliefs, and beliefs are powerful things. So it takes years to build, and so does the reputations of Bali itself as a tourism destination. So now let's just have a look on the video of our Vice Governor of Bali, Prof. Chok Oke Sukawati.
The Honorable, the President of United University Foundation, Mr. Tantowi Yahya, the Honorable Professor Noel Scott, University of the Sunshine Coast, Australia, the Head of Marketing, Media and Partnership at GDP Ventures, distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Om Swastiastu. May the Almighty God bless us all. On this special chance, I would like to thank the organizing committee for organizing this online seminar. I am sure it will support our goals to develop sustainable and quality tourism in Bali. Bali Island is a small, beautiful island and a part of Indonesian archipelago and the most famous of Indonesian tourism in the world, with its beautiful views, unique cultures, and the friendly community. Tourism sector in Bali has been started since the 1920s. Many names were already given by the satisfied and happy visitors, such as the Island of Paradise, the Island of Love, since Julia Roberts, made her film Eat, Pray and Love in Ubud. The Morning of the World was given by Nehru, a leader from India, and many names that reflect the good and positive impression from the visitors. Such names can give advantage to Bali because it is a description of good reputation for Bali as a destination. Meanwhile, in 2023, Bali has been ranked second only behind Dubai, which is topped the list for 2 years in a row in TripAdvisor's Traveler's Choice for the top 25 populous destinations. Bali was followed by London, Rome, Paris, Cancun, Crete, and Marrakesh. This kind of traveler's choice is also an example of elements that give in Bali its good destination reputation. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, after 2 years in difficult situation because of COVID-19 pandemics, then since March 2022, when COVID-19's condition in Bali, Indonesia is getting better, the international traveling rules also getting easier. Direct international flight to Bali starts to operate. It's make an impact to the tourist visit to increase by January 2023. Foreign tourists come to Bali is 331,912 people. An average per day is 10,707 people. Some regulation and facilities that has applied by the government to boost foreign tourist arrivals to Bali. First, there are 86 countries for VOA, visa on arrivals, and second, 9 countries of ASEAN for free visa exception, and 30 airlines from 23 cities or 15 countries. However, recently, many negative news being viral in the social media about foreign visitor has violated law or against culture, local norms, such as riding motorbikes without proper safety tools like helmet, work in Bali without working visa, damages their tourism visa or stay permit, doing business without any legal documents. Two foreign tourists argue with pecalang or Balinese traditional securities for camping in Sukavati area Gianyar Gensi. Foreign tourists with Bali ID and many negative acts that will influence Bali destination reputation to be bad or decline. And we all understand tourism is reputation dependent industry. On the demand or traveler side, when the travelers does not have previous experience or never visited the destination before, they surely face certain risks to decide their travel choice. A good reputation of the destination reputation help to minimize the unsatisfactory of travelers' experience. On display or industry side, of course, a good reputation will give positive benefits to the destination, such as get visitors, investment, and skilled human resources. When tourists have a great holiday, they will praise the destination, telling friends and family, of course, about the marvelous time they have had and want amazing place to visit. Likewise, when they don't have such a good experience, they run the destination down and saying bad thing and criticizing the destination as a result of their poor experience. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, to cope with those negative potential risks of harming Bali destination reputation, the government of Bali province has immediately formed a special task force which includes police and immigration officers, even custom village or desa adat. Institution as a desa adat has their own praram or regulation in their area. This task force member will later supervise, handle foreign tourists, and take action against foreign visitors who disturb public order or violate Indonesian law. We, the government and law enforcement officers, need to strengthen effort to take firm action. So far, Immigration Office in Bali has done firm action against tourists who violated immigration rules. Many tourists have been deported to their country as a proof of government's commitment. because the problems of foreign tourists in Bali that have not been resolved can affect the interest of tourists from other countries who really want to visit Indonesia. And I'm sure law-related institutions in Bali have a strong commitment to protect Bali as our beautiful, safe, and friendly, yet respect the law destination. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, that is my brief speech. I wish fruitful results for today's seminar. Hopefully, it will support Bali destination reputation to be sustainable with quality tourism. Thank you very much, and Om Santi, Santi, Santi Om.
Yes, to conclude the speech from the Vice Governor of Bali, so the reputations of Bali as a tourism destination that want to be achieved is as a sustainable and also quality tourism destination. We do hope that we will be able to always hold that reputation, and we thank you to the Vice Governor of Bali for the warm greetings and also the keynote speech during this online seminar. Therefore, as our appreciation and as our gratitude to you, we would like to present you this certificate as a token of appreciation for your valuable time and also for the nice keynote speech during this seminar. Thank you so much once again to the Vice Governor of Bali, Prof. Cho Oke Sukawati. Well, now ladies and gentlemen, before we start the main agenda of our online seminar, there is the session, of course. We will have all of the speakers. We have 2 sessions, and for the first panel session, we will have Professor Noel from Australia. But before we start the first panel session, we would like to take you to see a video. This video will show you about one research project which happening in Kaimana. Have you ever heard about Kaimana? It is a beautiful place located at the West Papua. So please enjoy the video. Once again, it's regarding the research project in Kaimana. fill for the completing the attendance list, right? So please just go to the chat box, have a look on the link, just click and fill the attendance list for this online seminar. And the chat box will be also beneficial for you later on during the discussion session on each session on the panel session. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's just start because this is the main agenda of our online seminar, and I know all of you are waiting for this important session because we're going to have Professor Noel from Australia. And the first panel session will be led, of course, by our moderator. So please allow me first to introduce the moderator on the first session. The moderator for this first panel session is a practitioner in tourism who is also the chairman of the Indonesia Hotel General Manager Association. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the first panel session with our moderator, Bapak Dr. Yoga Iswara. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dian, our fantastic and well-presented master ceremony. The reputation of a destination is the result of the social assessment the public express about the place. It derives from the image every person has the destination, identity, and then depend on the alignment of the identity and the image. Ladies and gentlemen, in the first session, we have one invited speaker, Mr. Noel Scott from the University of the Sunshine Coast, Australia. Let me just greet Professor Scott. Good afternoon, Mr. Professor Scott.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you, Dr. Isawara.
I believe
Isawara.
it's getting evening there.
It's in the afternoon, for about it's a little bit after 4 o'clock, and but it's still quite a nice day.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Noel Scott. So the topic is about destination reputation, how to manage. And of course, Professor Noel Scott will be addressing the topic from the point of view of the academic. Before we continue, please allow me to highlight his profile. Okay. He's the professor from the University of Sunshine Coast of Australia. And then he has 28 years focus and experience in tourism, especially on sustainability, has produced around 300 academic papers and also 17 books. And of course, there are many more activities that is conducted, especially on research. Yeah. So let's invite Professor Scott. Yeah. Time is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Isawara. I'm going to share my screen if I can. So please let me know if you can see that. Is that okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, well, to begin, I'd like to acknowledge the words of Vice Governor Sukawati, and also the introduction by Prof. Agung, who the Centre for Excellence in Tourism, who I think is becoming more and more handsome as each time I see him. So he's a person I've known a long time and got a lot of respect for him. And then thank you to the Master of Ceremonies and also to Dr. Yogi. So thank you for the opportunity to talk today. I'm sorry that I'm not in Indonesia in person, although I hope to be in Bali at the end of April. So perhaps that will be an opportunity to catch up. What I wanted to do to talk to you in my talk today is to talk a little bit about destination reputation, how you might manage it, and then give an example of one sort of a more extreme destination problem. It's a case study from probably about 10 years ago, but still useful. Okay, so let me see how I can go here. A little bit about me, you've heard that, that's all good. And so a number of people so far, our MC and Dr. Yuri have talked about this concept of reputation. And I just want to expand on that a little bit. So some people might think that a reputation, the reputation of a place or a person or a company is shared amongst all people. I think of it slightly differently. You see, I think of a reputation as very similar to your thoughts about anything. Think about perhaps your thoughts about Australia or America, doesn't matter. What you have in your mind, this is the way your brain works, is a series of associations of concepts or ideas which are connected together. So whenever I think about perhaps Australia, I might think about kangaroos and koalas, and especially if I'm thinking about Australia as in the context of a holiday, I might be thinking. I might be thinking about beaches or certain cities and things. So how I think about a place is dependent upon the context in which I'm thinking about it. If I'm thinking about Australia in terms of it as a holiday, I'll think about one set of things. If I'm thinking about Australia as a place where Aborigines or native people live, I might think about it in a less positive way and have associations to lots of other things. So there's no one reputation of a object, a country, or a destination. It all is dependent upon the context in which you're thinking about it. That said, probably if people are thinking about Bali, they will be thinking about it as a holiday destination, especially if they're from Australia, and they'll probably think about it as a slightly exotic place which is attractive to visit, with cultural and natural and beach associations. Apart from that, most people won't really know a lot about Bali in depth unless they have been there before. A lot of Australians have, or also read something about it recently in the newspapers. So firstly, when I want you to think about your reputation, don't think about it as one thing. A reputation is a set of associations, and that the set of associations that you recall depends on the situation when you're doing it, or when you're recalling them. Now, that's called a schema. That's a way that psychologists think about that network of associations. And that, as we've heard already, your schema, the way you think about a place, is established over many years from conversations, from reading things in the paper, from visiting, and so on. And so it tends to be fairly stable. That is, your schema, once it's established, your schema doesn't change very easily. Okay? So most people will have a fairly stable image idea about the reputation of Bali, Australia, USA. But sometimes an event, some external event, they may read something in the papers, they might read something, they might see something on the news, they might have some information told to them about something that's a little bit unusual connected to Bali or Australia. So what they do is that new piece of information is compared to this existing schema, this existing network of associations. And if it's congruent, that is, if the new piece of information is very similar to what's already known, well, nothing happens. If the new piece of information is very different from the existing schema, then we would call that extremely incongruent. And that's the thing that attracts people's attention and starts to get them thinking, hey, is this true? How will that affect me if I want to go on a holiday or something? Okay, so firstly, not all new pieces of information change your schema, that is, change the reputation. Most of the things that people read or are aware of will be congruent and leave your existing stable schema unchanged. However, sometimes there may be situations where something surprising happens which is irrelevant to certain people taking a holiday, for example. Then they will evoke their holiday schema of Bali and they will compare this new information to it, and it may be incongruent, that is, different from what they expect, and that will cause them some worry and certainly direct their attention to it. So bottom line is, every destination needs to understand this network of associations, how people are thinking about a place, and the similarities or differences in schema in different markets, in different amongst different groups of people from the same country. You need to understand that, and that's something that you can find out from doing some research. This image here on the screen is a schema that was developed for an ideal beach destination. This is what people who go to, who are looking for a beach destination generally think about. They associate the idea of a beach with walking, the natural environment, maybe the cultural setting, the services that are available, and so on. So you can define that very, very well through doing some market research. You can also then understand what's critical and what's not to your reputation or the schema, how people are thinking about it. So not everything would be easy to change, to affect, and you'd have to have something really really extreme and believable to change some of these fundamental associations of, say, Bali with a beach. So the the effect of external events on your reputation is due to things affecting this mental schema, hard to change, but sometimes extreme events can. Usually when you're talking about these extreme events, you're thinking about crises and disasters. That's one way that a reputation may be damaged, at least in the short term, but also social or cultural factors, perhaps terrorism, war, and all those things. They are the type of extremely incongruent events which may affect a person's mental schema. So, what do you do about all this? Well, of course, you have to understand how you want people to think about your destination and what the current associations are, and you can strengthen and tweak that through your marketing and promotion. But on the other hand, you need to be tracking and very much aware of external events that may threaten the reputation of your destination. You need to track those and get onto them and deal with them very quickly, because you don't want them to be elaborated. You need to jump on these things very quickly and reassure people that while this event or external thing may be happening, it's under control and things will be returning to normal or to an acceptable situation very quickly. So that's where you have to manage communications about these external events, and you need to manage that communication both to your existing tourists in the destination as well as to prospective tourists outside your destination. So that slide is a little picture about what we're talking about today. Now, I want you to think that any destination has got a large number of stakeholder groups, people who have an interest in the destination and will have some ideas about what that destination is all about. So one group of stakeholders may believe that the reputation of a destination is X. Another group of stakeholders may have a slightly different reputation. So that means two things. One is you need to know what the stakeholder groups are and how they think about the reputation of the destination. And then you need to think about how to manage those different ideas, the different groups. And also, you need to make sure that although there are many different stakeholder groups within Bali, for example, you try as much as you can to speak with one voice, rather than having a lot of debate in the media about problems and issues. So that's what I mean by the ability to manage the media and communication about your reputation. Who should do that? Well, first of all, a person who is able to deal with media and these important issues quickly and effectively, who is trained in the ability to do that and has perceived expertise. Someone who will credibly provide a response that the people viewing will receive, will believe. And then you need to make sure that that message is got out to through as many communications as channels as you can, making sure that it's one message, not lots of different ones. So this means, of course, that you need some sort of warning system, some ability to be tracking in real time what are the issues in the news, in the social media, wherever, that may affect your destination. And if you see something developing, then you need to get onto it quickly. And you need to be prepared to do that. This is not rocket science, okay? This is something that, this idea of reputation management is something that all major companies and many destinations, certainly in Australia, are aware of and trained in, okay? So you need to be monitoring what's happening and being ready to manage a negative representation event as it's developing. You need to step in quickly, and certainly you need to have a centralized spokesperson as a single point of contact. What you want to happen is if there's some event has occurred, you need that spokesperson to get it onto this issue and provide some media release information, and everyone who is ringing about that issue, who wants to know about it, is able to contact that spokesperson, get the same message, okay? So that's about managing your reputation. But also that spokesperson should be able to turn the negative reputation event into a positive, right? For example, typically in this sort of training, people might say, oh, okay, there's been an event, we are dealing with it, we understand it, we're dealing with it, and Bali will soon return to being the beautiful and wonderful place that it always is. Bali is a welcoming place, and And so you acknowledge that there has been an event, tell people that you're dealing with it, and then reiterate the positives of the positive reputation that has. If you can do that, then managing your reputation becomes a lot easier. So managing destinations, certainly there's two main groups. There's dealing and communicating with people in the destination. Maybe that's where this reputational event is. And then there's dealing with people outside who are hearing about this event. So whatever happens, you need to find out, let's say it's an event that's happened in Bali, someone has fallen off a motorbike and it's a tourist and there's some issue. You need to get to that person as quickly as you can and reassure them. Try and defuse the situation. Sometimes you can't do that, but that's what you want to try. And you need to be able to communicate to your existing tourists, yeah, something's happened, here's the situation, give the facts, and then say we're dealing with it, and by the way, we hope that you're still enjoying your holiday. Then, of course, you need to be able to manage your external media information. Similar way, single point of contact, but you need to be proactive. And this sort of process that I'm talking about here, we're talking about a reputational event, but a crisis, a disaster, that's the type of thing that you're dealing with as a reputational event. It could also be a tourist within Bali has had some problem, or there's some issue, not as a major event, but still something that might affect the reputation. So in those sort of situations, you need to have a network of people within the key organizations in the destination, so that if one of these events are happening, people tell each other what's happening, and then it can be handled. It's when different organizations go off without talking to one another, then you've got a problem. Okay. Now, I don't know how much time I've got. Have I still got a bit of time? How am I going for time?
Yes, Prof, you still have 20 minutes.
Oh, excellent. Oh, thank you. I can talk underwater, but I don't want to talk too long. But what I'll give you here is a example of let's call it a reputational event, or you might call it a crisis or a disaster issue. It's was an oil spill by a large boat that sank off the coast of Queensland, off Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast, and it washed up on the beach in this beautiful natural environment. And because of the news, there was a problem with people thinking about taking a holiday to that place, because the beaches were perceived to be damaged by the oil. So in this particular case, this is, I'm sure you know Queensland. Queensland is my home state, so I think it's the best part of Australia. But so down here where I hope you can see my cursor is Brisbane. And just north of that in southeast Queensland is the Sunshine Coast and Fraser Coast. This is World Heritage environment and popular beach, and it was affected by this oil spill. So we're talking about Moreton Island, this sort of beautiful, pristine environment along the Queensland coast, and a series of national parks with lots of wild dolphins and other animals. Very close to Brisbane. And also the Sunshine Coast, which was one of the major domestic tourism destinations in Australia. Lots of, again, beaches. And Fraser Coast. So the Fraser Island, which is a World Heritage listed area, which is again strongly beach. So this place is seen as a pristine natural environment where people go to experience nature, and we have an oil spill which is reported as ruining the beaches. So there was, so on the 11th of March, I think 2011, I think it was, a boat lost lots of containers overboard and they ripped a hole in the side of the vessel, and it lost 200 cubic meters of crude oil in the ocean. And on Thursday, this started to wash up on the beach. And on the Saturday, there were beach closures. And Sunday, the industry got together to determine what they were going to do. And on Monday, there was a cleanup commencing. So they got onto this pretty quickly. But the problem was, this was immediately prior to one of the major tourism peak periods in the Sunshine Coast. So the threat was that this oil would stop people from going to the Sunshine Coast during a peak period. So it occurred on a weekend, which was difficult because that meant the government perhaps wasn't fully operational. but it was all over the news, both domestic and international. The perception was that the affected areas was more widespread. There was a lack of coordinated cross-government response. There were lots of stakeholders, national parks, local governments, police, and so on, and there was no central point of contact for the information. And also the government, in this sort of situation, was focused on the oil spill, not the effect on local business and tour operators. So this is one of the situations where there are multiple stakeholders, no coordinated response, and each stakeholder has its own idea about what should be done, what's important. So we got lots of a bad press. Here we are, paradise lost as oil ruins beaches. And this picture of probably the worst affected beach. Oil spill far worse than first realized. Newspapers love this because it means that they can give a message of disaster. Traders bracing for major losses in tourism and the cleanup. Mind you, what you see here is the cleanup beginning. So this is only a couple of days after the main problem. Lots of stories, so on, so on. So lots of news. So the peak period, just prior to the peak period, there was this big problem and the businesses started to panic as the beaches got covered with oil. So Fraser Island, although it was not directly affected, got large-scale resort booking cancellations. Bribie Island, which is not a particularly big holiday destination, was fairly heavily affected, and Moreton Island was, but many of the beaches where people go weren't. So there were places that were affected, but the issue was blown up and expanded. So this is then how Tourism and Events Queensland, this is the provincial government tourism office, responded. So they became the key stakeholder providing coordination. So they said, well, okay, well, what do we need to tell people? What's the message that we need to tell people that will provide a clear information, but also which will be true? This is a restricted problem. It affects some areas. It's going to be dealt with quickly. Soon we'll be back on track. And there were lots of political problems and all sorts of things. And then, so what they did was they did some immediate media, and then they did some longer term media response. So straight away, they started to get stories out in the press. So these were news releases recognizing the problems and then starting to say a few days later, hey, we're open for business. Okay, so they're being proactive in saying, yes, there has been a problem, but now we're open for business again. And so Moreton and Bribie Island improving by the day, open for Easter. That was a message from the Premier, the Governor, but was coordinated by Tourism and Events Queensland. Okay. But then they didn't just stop there with the messages. They decided that the issue was important enough that they would actually develop some media campaign to demonstrate that the issue was resolved and to bring people back to the understanding that this place was suitable for a holiday. So they actually developed a television advertisement, Staysham, they did local advertising and so on. And they did it in the affected areas, as well as in international, in New South Wales and in print in Sydney and Melbourne and so on. So what they did was, here's the media images that were sent. A beach, Sunshine Coast, open for business. So it's directly addressing this issue and or problem. The bay is back in business. So again, this was a campaign that was focused on different regions to make sure that the groups of tourists who go to those places were aware of the issues. Fraser Coast, here, this person is actually a local sports person. So they actually used a media figure or a person who was quite famous, Grant Hackett, who was an Olympic swimmer, to demonstrate that he was telling people everything's okay. So that's a little bit of expertise or perceived expertise. A person who would know if there's a problem would be a person who swims all the time. He's saying it's okay, therefore it's probably okay to go. Yeah, Southeast Queensland. So all sorts of things. This is, again, Grant Hackett surfing, saying everything's okay. All right. So did this work? Well, they measured the effectiveness, as you should do, and found that it was. There were various ways they do it. So it did produce positive public relations. There are a number of developing things that happened about it. But so what I'm saying is that's an example where you have a reputational event. There were problems initially because it happened on a weekend. People weren't actively monitoring the situation. It came out of the blue. But eventually, after a couple of days, the tourism people, the local provincial tourism office, took charge, started to coordinate people, and gave messages to the market to explain what was happening and to reassure people it was okay. So then once they got used to it, then they became proactive. So an example of a case study in Queensland where people were managing a reputational event. Okay, so that's me. Hopefully that's was interesting to you. And I'll stop sharing my screen and hand back to the moderator for this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Scott. Yeah, it's very interesting and fantastic presentation. And then please allow me just to highlight a key point that you have mentioned earlier. The first one, a reputation is a mental schema that needs management. So schema is like a set of the association. And second one, the stakeholder group have a different schema, ability to manage media and the communication, perceived expertise and access to the communication channel. And then the third point is destination need actively monitor its reputation. And you mentioned here about warning system is becoming a necessary tool to have and to transfer the negative into the positive. And next, which is the internal and external reputation management in the event. Last but not least is a case study with the guidelines, communication response, marketing response, campaign outline, along with the marketing execution. So now we're gonna move to the discussion. So if anyone or any participant has question, you might write your question in the chat box, or we also give the opportunity for the participant to talk directly to the invited speaker. So time, we open for the discussion. Let me just review the chat box first. Mr. Andreas, would you like to talk directly, Mr. Andreas?
Hello, Mr. Yoga.
How are you, Mr. Andreas?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. Thank you. How
Please.
are you, Professor Scott?
Very good, thank you. Very good.
Yeah, I have one question about see what happened in the last few months regarding tourists who violate the rule and the law in Bali. Whether the strict law enforcement will influence tourists to worry and decide not to visit to the destination. How do you think?
Okay, so from what I don't know much about the particular issue myself. I'm sorry, but to me it's a reputational event. I think so. Firstly, no, it's not going to change people's images of Bali overnight. Okay. People in Australia, so when you're thinking about a place like Bali, people are so familiar with it that they would probably be able to evaluate that particular event and understand that, you know, it's not a common thing. So, but the point is, you make it easy for people to think good things about Bali. So you need some spokesperson to address the issue, perhaps explaining the circumstances of what happened and why people shouldn't be worried about it. Okay. Now you have to acknowledge what's happened. Here are the facts, but then you provide the positive perspective. So, no, I don't think it's going to change people's attitudes to Bali overnight, but I would suggest that you address it rather than ignore it by putting out a positive, a good communication about it, and have one person who can be the point of contact to respond to those issues. Do you understand?
Yes, thank you, Professor Scott. Thank you for your advice.
Thank you, Mr. Andreas. And I really agree with the Professor Scott that, as you mentioned earlier in your presentation, that reputation is kind of a steady. It cannot change in a very immediate time, especially with some event that will not maybe change the whole reputation. Yeah. And of course, this need to be managed. Yeah, need to be addressed positively. respond, so not react, so that we can manage it well to minimize the impact. So the next one, which is Ananda Ramadhani. Ananda, are you there? Would you like to express your question directly?
Hello, is my voice are clearly heard?
Yes, very clear.
Okay. First of all, thank you for the experience and thank you for the interesting material. So I have quite a question. So earlier you mentioned the warning system on the reputational risk. Can you give us your POV about how and what kind of metric measurement on this warning system context, sir?
You know, yes. Often organizations have a media person, and I'm familiar with the provincial government place where I used to work, and it was the tourism office, and the media person was at their desk and had the radio on. So they would listen with this radio. They would be in the office with their radio in the background, listening all the time, and their job was to identify issues that had just occurred and raise them and highlight those which seem a bit problematic. Okay, so a warning system may be like that, but it could also be, especially if it's in the international market, many places have media reporting where you can buy reports related to particular topics in particular markets. So you might have a media reporting service which reports on Chinese stories about Bali, for example. And you get that once a day. And so as soon as there's an issue that is appears to be developing, you can start to address it. So that's what I mean by warning system. It doesn't have to be, it's just being able to listen to what they call the chatter. I mean, probably these days you will set up a Google search for trending stories, for example. That would be cheap and effective. Does that make sense? Does that help you?
Yes, thank you so much for the answer, Mr. Noel Scott.
Good, thank you.
Professor Scott, please allow me to add on that topic. You mentioned about the timing earlier in your presentation also during the warning system. What do you think will be the reasonable or the best timing that becoming a standard to respond?
Oh, look, I mean, the answer is as quickly as possible. The ideal situation would be to get it before it gets into the international press, for example. And there is a news cycle, you know. So if you're going to go to the 6 o'clock news in Australia, probably the story would have happened by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So depending upon when the issue happens, you may have a few hours, or you may have 12 hours. The issue is that often news, if it's an interesting story, the newspapers or the news stations or the news media will want to talk to someone about it. That's really the problem, being able for people to know who to talk to. So that's something which you might, as soon as there's an issue, put it on your website so that people know who the main media spokesperson is. Do you understand?
Yes.
And then they can say, oh, okay, all right, thank you. They may not even know about this issue, but they're the spokesperson. So they say, look, we haven't heard here, but I will get onto it. I will get back to you in 5 minutes with some information. So it's being responsive. If you are a place and you're not, if you're trying to push the media away, then you're more likely to attract their attention. So be proactive, be quickly, have a point of contact and have that person well known so that, so this is where often before there's any issue at all, you start to develop your network of contacts within the media sector to make sure that the media know who to contact. Do you understand?
Yes, very clear, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, anyone? Any other question from the participant? So my senior here, Mr. Freddy Pantau. Any others? Question? Okay, while we're waiting, Mr. Professor Scott, I would like to ask your opinion about Bali. With the current reputation that we have now, with all, and of course we have, we are not perfect. We have any issue that arise also in Bali. Yeah. What do you think as an outsider regarding the current reputation of Bali?
Okay, so I don't, I'm an academic, so I never get a chance to watch the news very much, and I'm not fully aware of all the things that are happening in Australia or in the Australian news. But it appears to me, by the things I've said, that there is that now COVID is over, and tourists are returning. I think that pause, that time when there were no tourists, has given perhaps residents in Bali some time to reflect on what type of tourism they want. And so I perceive perhaps a slight, I wouldn't say hardening, but more definition about the standards that people in Bali might expect of tourists coming to them, right? Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that it's actually a good thing for a destination to be able to demonstrate or tell tourists about their destination and how to behave and so on. But it's how you manage that and how you put it into a positive story rather than a negative story that's the issue, and how you manage it so that people understand the issues. And so, this is what marketing people do all the time. They take the facts and put them into a format which is broadly understood by the people and perhaps more positive than otherwise it might have appeared. So what I see lots of this stuff. I've seen a few stories about in various formats in various places about Russian tourists, for example, and those people overstaying or being deviant in some way, and also people not respecting Balinese culture. And I think all those things are quite reasonable. It's just that they seem to be being dealt with in the media without, or I haven't seen the counter story being put up by the destination. Does that make sense?
Yes, Professor. Yeah. Yes, what we try to do in Bali now is we try to become a responsible destination so that we can attract more responsible destination, so that of course the quality tourism is becoming the base, how we can produce quality product, quality services, and also quality management, so that we can aim a very high satisfaction from the visitor. And of course this need a process while we having just released from the pandemic. And then I think everyone is excited about this progress, and of course the rule regulation need also to be upgrade, and then to meet the demand and the situation, the current situation. Yeah.
Okay, and all I'd ask is, can you explain to me the benefits for the tourist, the typical tourist from Australia, in that new approach? So you've told me what's happening or what you want, which is good. But what we are talking about is how you communicate that to the Australian traveller, and what's the messages that you're sending to them. Huh?
Yep. So, like now, Bali is focusing on stability, and after that we are transforming to the sustainability. So this thing, of course, we need a support and effort. Yeah. Not only we expecting from the visitor, but also from ourselves, from the destination, from the stakeholder, the government. Yeah. So on this process, we hope that we can transfer from what we have in the previous moment, that maybe everything at that time is not really controlled and managed well. So now is the time for them for us to rejuvenate and then create something that can be make Bali better for everyone.
Yeah, I understand all that, but from what you're saying, there's been a slight change of strategy. I think it's a good thing, but and some of that strategy is being implemented in various ways, but your reputation, because this is a difference in the way some people will think about Bali, then, and only some groups, not everyone, you just need to be able to communicate that, and I'm not sure still from what you've said how that communication process is occurring.
So maybe the best state for us, besides that we doing the improvement process in Bali, we also can make like a socialization to all our, for example, in the tourism, like in the all media, business media partner in Australia, and then we tell them
so that,
there is what
and,
we are
and,
now.
So I think if this is going to happen, you've got to be open and proactively tell people and communicate the benefits to the tourist and presumably the community and to Australia or whoever, to the key stakeholders, why this is a good thing. Okay.
That's true. One, for example, Professor Scott, that what we conducted and already implemented in Bali, for example, try to get the reputation on sustainability. Like, for example, hotel in Bali, they are not using plastic bottle anymore, so they exchange or transform to the bottle. So try to minimize the plastic, single plastic use. So this can be communicated well, and then get the support also from the tourists, make it fun so that the hotel and the visitor can make this goal even high to achieve. Yeah.
I understand, and that's good. And so this, being seen as a environmentally responsible destination, I think, is an attraction for people. Certainly, something that you need to address. If there are other changes that are going on, then you also need to communicate those. So, a quality destination is a very holistic thing. And there'll be some changes perhaps in the environment side. There might be changes expected in the visitor side in terms of what visitors you want, and in terms of how the residents should be behaving. And all of those things, I think it would be useful to analyse, understand pressure points, things where there may be some more larger scale change in the association network. Here's what people are thinking about this thing now, and then develop some story or some campaign to justify and explain to people why that's a good thing.
Sure. Thank you very much, Professor Scott. It's very clear, and then we hope that we can process all the plan and the execution, and then we communicate it well to the partner that what we are addressing. Last question, we have Bapak Sidi Bayu. Please, time is yours, Pak.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. It's a very meaningful enlightenment, about the situation of the tourism destination, as you mentioned in your presentation. Professor, reputation is heavily influenced by the political situation that develops in a country. For a destination that already has an improved reputation like Bali, facing a difficult situation due to the many interests. This affects the attitude of trust of tourists and also tourism actors from abroad, from like Australia. Based on your experiences, can the interest of developing tourist destination be free from political interest? How we can manage this situation, because we are in difficult situation at the moment, because Bali is a part of Indonesia, is part of the state. We are one of the province, so it's very difficult and it's very strange when a governor make a political decision, because we are part of the state,
Sure.
It's very difficult situation at the moment. So how do you think from your experiences? Thank you very much.
Yeah. Look, in my opinion, tourism, like any other part of society, is subject to politics. There are countries where they will issue visas or issue block people from traveling from certain countries because of the political relationships between those two countries. So yes, it is a in every country there are politics. The only thing that has happened in Australia, which I think has been a positive thing, is that the tourism industry has what they call the Tourism Industry Council, Australian Tourism Industry Council, and similar organisations in each state. So that body, that organisation, is a coalition of all the major tourism business groups and other groups as well, actually, environmental groups and so on. And so what they try and do is go to the government with one voice. Okay, so if you have many different organizations, tourism organizations, then you always get many different perspectives. The hotel people might think differently to the travel people, so on. Or you might get parties or organizations associated with particular parties of government political parties. So the way the Australian Tourism Industry Council and the Queensland Tourism Industry Council work is to, prior to any election, go to the government of both parties, or as many parties as there are, with what the tourism industry thinks. So it tries to be apolitical in its presentation to both sides of government as to and provide one cohesive voice. Right? Very difficult to achieve, but that's the only way, or that's one way, I think, that the industry, so the tourism industry tends to be fairly, fragmented, and the more you can get one cohesive voice talking about issues related to tourism to both political parties or whatever, the better. Very difficult to do, though. Does that make sense?
Yes, that we don't have a one voice yet, so we have to invite all to speak together. Yeah, well, that's the situation very difficult. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just reached the maximum time for the first session. Once again, Professor Scott, thank you very much for all your enlightenment, your information, your support, yeah. And then we will continue. Before I pass to the master ceremony, there's one participant, Bapak Sang Nyoman Bagus, has also given a suggestion here that the communication also should be done by the involvement of the tourist guide on every single host-guest interaction. I think everyone believes that all the stakeholders will be participate in communicating the goal. For example, in here is about the reputation destination. So once again, let's give a big applause to Professor Scott for almost, I think, 1 hour and 20 minutes. Yeah. And we will be continue with the second session. So Ms. Dian, time is yours.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much once again to our moderator and also Professor Noel Scott. Let's give a round of applause for both of them. And of course, such a fruitful discussion that we have. We would like to present a certificate for our invited speaker, Professor Noel Scott. This is a certificate, and this is, of course, as our appreciation for your valuable times, for your valuable insights during this online seminar. We would like to present the certificate now to Professor Noel Scott. to one of our invited speakers this afternoon. Yes, this is it. So thank you so much for participating as our invited speakers in the online seminar on the destination reputation, how to manage. Thank you once again. And now we would like to also present a certificate to our moderator in this first session, of course to Bapak Dr. Yoga Iswara. Thank you so much for being a very interactive moderator, a very patient one, because we have a lot of questions as well from the participants, and thank you for leading a very interesting discussion session. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, let's just continue to the next session that we have on our online seminar. We still have two more speakers. One is Bapak Tantowi Yahya, the president of the United University Foundation, and the other one is a practitioner on PR and also marketing, that is Ibu Osi. So before we go directly to our speakers, please allow me to introduce our moderator for this second session. Ladies and gentlemen, in this second session, so after in the first session, we discussed a lot about the importance of reputation. Now it's time for all of us here to also know how is the communication and also PR relevance to keeping a very good reputation for destination, and also the practical things that also already applied in the PR world and also in the marketing world, because later on the OC, one of the speakers, will also share about her experiences earlier. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome, this is the second session and this is the moderator, Ibu Prasiwi Bestari.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Siwi, and I'm very honored to be your moderator in the second session of the seminar entitled Destination Reputation, How to Manage. Speaking of destination reputation management is about the practice of monitoring and managing the public perception of a destination. And we're lucky enough today to have two amazing speakers who will be joining us in this second session. So in this second session, we'll have two highly respected speakers who will represent their presentation. And I would like to introduce our first speaker for this second session. We have Ambassador Tantowi Yahya. Good afternoon, Mr. Ambassador.
Hi, good afternoon, Siwi.
How are you today, Mr.?
I'm good. I'm good. Nice to see you virtually.
Thank you. So before we start with the presentation this afternoon, let me read a short bio of this Mr. Ambassador Tantowi Yahya. So Mr. Ambassador Tantowi Yahya currently serves as the President of United in Diversity and the President Commissioner of Kura Kura Bali, which currently built a sustainable and world-class integrated tourism hub that upholds the harmony of Trihita Karana and the beauty of the Bali landscape. Previously, he was an ambassador of Indonesia to New Zealand, Samoa, and Tonga, and currently appointed as Indonesian roving ambassador for the Asia Pacific. Besides being a businessman, he is an artist and lately also a politician, where he previously served as a member of a parliament. And he is also known as a TV presenter, master of ceremony, music producer, country singer, and also social worker. As TV host, he hosted many programs, including Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and won 5 Panasonic Awards in 5 consecutive years. And also as a country singer who represented Indonesia in the CMA Country Music Festival in Nashville, Tennessee, USA in 2006. Also as a social worker, he also spearheaded Indonesian American Friendship Association in 2004 to 2006 and 2006 to 2008. So without further ado, I would like to hand over the floor to Mr. Ambassador Tantowi Yahya for your presentation. So the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Siwi, for the very gracious introductions. You really make my job very easy. I don't have to speak a lot about myself. Everything has been well said. Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to thank Mr. Sudayana for giving me a chance, for inviting me to speak in this very relevant, in this very important seminars in conjunction with what happens in Bali today. Second, I would like to say a few words about what was just said by Professor Noel Scott. I think what he just said is this is the terms used currently in Indonesia, daging semua. So it's full of meat, no tulang or no bone. We got all the information needed to overcome the situations that we are facing right now. So I would like to start by giving you a greeting Om Swastiastu. Assalamualaikum, selamat sore Bapak Ibu yang saya hormati. I have prepared a presentations deck that I can share with you. So I would like to ask the committee if the presentation is ready to share or not. Yes, okay. Jadi Bapak Ibu sekalian, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very good chance for me to be speaking this afternoon in my capacity as a former Indonesian ambassador to New Zealand, in which you know that New Zealand is one of the few countries in the world whose economy is purely supported by tourism and agriculture. Contributions to the economy in terms of dollars and percentage is happening alternatingly. Sometimes agriculture, and the next time is tourism. But tourism, using the word explained by Professor Scott just now, talking about perceptions, New Zealand has been perceived as one of the best destinations for people in the world, especially sustainable tourism. What people perceive about tourism in New Zealand has always been clean water, blue sky, green forest, nice people as such. That's all related to what sustainable tourism is all about, the topic that I would like to discuss with you. Second, I'm so glad and happy to be here speaking in my capacity as tourism people. Not many people know that I'm a graduate of National Hotel Institute, or NHI Bandung. And after graduating my study from that prestigious hotel school, I had a chance to work for 2 international hotels, namely Borobudur Intercontinental Hotel then, and Jakarta Hilton International. I spent about 5 years working as a hotelier. So I just, that was the time for me to practice what I learned from school. Being a hotelier made me a person that knows a lot, but master a little. But that what brings me to the positions where I'm right now. And the third one, this is a good chance for me to be speaking here in my capacity as the new resident of Bali. I'm a Sanurian. So after completing my ambassadorial job in December 2021, I got a straight job from a company which was mentioned by Siwi just now. So I'm the President Commissioner or Chairman of Kura Kura Bali, or Bali Turtle Island Development. And for that job, I'm requested to live in Bali. So I'm happy to be in Bali, happy to be Sanurians, and that position, makes me able to comment about what happens in Bali lately. So my dear friends, before the removal of Indonesia as the host of FIFA Under-20 as the #1 news in Indonesia, it was the behavior of tourists in Bali that attracted a lot of questions, both from the government and also from the people, especially the people of Bali, that became the big news. Now, speaking about that, I made several comments in the social media, not because I want to jeopardize the situations or to intervene with the policy of the government, but it's simply because my concern as one of the residents of Bali, one of the Sanurians, who see in my own eyes the improper conduct of the tourists that affects the policemen, that affect unhappiness of the people here in Bali. So I would like to start with the first page of my presentations. Can I see the first page, please? All right. So we have 5 issues that happens in Bali in the last few weeks or the last few months, issues and concerns. The first one is tourist behavior and residents' frustrations. As we all understand, for the last few weeks, we have been bombarded with a lot of videos and news about the improper or disrespectful behavior of certain tourists that affect frustrations of the people, of the residents in Bali. So it is no longer a secret that people get annoyed with those attitudes. It doesn't mean that the behavior of the Balinese people changed from being so solemn, being so welcoming, to become hostile. No, it has nothing to do with that. But I think the reactions towards the disrespectful behavior, the disrespectful behavior of the tourists may affect any people in the world. If it happens in their neighborhood, if it happens in their premises. So to me, the reactions of the Balinese people towards that disrespectful behavior is something very common. The second issue which attracts our attention is the decreasing of life quality of the locals, which results decreasing quality of visitors' experience. It is very common to judge, ladies and gentlemen, when you are dealing with a community whose welfare is decreasing or whose happiness is decreasing, what we will experience as a visitor coming to that place or coming to that country or coming to that city will also be decreasing. You can imagine if you go to a place which is full of demonstrations, which is unstable, and it may result to the decreasing quality of the people. You don't find happiness. You don't find joy visiting that place. And you can, in contrary, if you go to a place where people are happy and people are content and people support the government, what you see is actually the same. You will see happy people. You will see nice environment. Now, what we see in Bali due to the pandemic, which lasted almost 3 years, you see the quality of the income of the people. So many people, suffer a lot from closing their business, from trying hard to maintain their life quality. It will impact the quality of the service they give to the people and they give to the visitors that come to Bali. One of the very example is the very relaxed conditions or the very relaxed conditions applied by the bicycle renters to the tourists. I mean, if you go abroad, see, you go anywhere in the world to rent a car or to rent a bike, it needs certain qualifications. You got to have internationally accepted driver license. You have to be able to drive very well, and you have to fulfill other qualifications. That happens in so many countries in the world. But in our situations where people, I'm sorry to use the word, hungry for business, then they don't obey that qualifications anymore. They become compromissive. The third issues that we are facing in the last few months is price rise and concerns of sustainability, it impacts to the infrastructure concerns, over consumptions and destructions of cultural heritage. So point number 3 here means that talking about sustainability, more and more people in the world, especially visitors, are more concerned about sustainability. They prefer to visit countries that can provide sustainable tourism. We talk later in the later page about sustainable tourisms. Countries or places which are not supporting sustainability are not in the favor of more and more internet tourists right now. Now, it impacts the preparedness of our tourism in Indonesia, especially here in Bali. Now, as you understand, the big flow of tourists that come to a certain place, a certain country, a certain city, it will impact whether you like it or not, overconsumptions of infrastructure, and it will, whether you like it or not, disturbs the existence of our own culture. The fourth issue that we are facing is the absence of law enforcement for quite some time. I'm very happy to see how our government, I'm talking about the government in Bali and also the police in Bali, react promptly and very fast towards the disrespectful behavior, the unlawful tourists that happens in the last few weeks. Many people perceive the actions taken by the government and the police is something overdone. In some certain extents, probably yes, it's kind of overreactive to what really happens. But this thing should be done in order to give a lesson learned to the tourists that rules and regulations are still in place in Indonesia. Rules and regulations are still in place in Bali, no exception. If the rules and the regulations are applied to the local people, why not it is applied to the foreigners and to the visitors? Because rules, law as such, should be fair and should be similar. The fifth issue is the assuming tourists to be aware of the rules and regulations. We take it for granted that all the tourists that come to Bali understand our culture, understand our rules, and understand our regulations. When they deviate from the rules, when they make some mistakes, when they disrespect, then we all complain. And we don't, but on the other side, we are not aware of their ignorance, of their lack of knowledge about the local practice, the culture, and everything. I give you a very good example. Not many people in the world, including the tourists from overseas, understand about the concept of pecalang or cultural police, which exists in Bali and proven to be very instrumental in guarding sacred place, in guarding the ceremonies. But in the mind of those people, because they don't have that in the country, those pecalang are illegal workers, are illegal securities that stop them from doing something. So taking people for granted about our culture, our traditions, our rules and regulation is something that we have to change in the future. Number six, or the six issues and concerns that we have over the months is unpredictable change in tourism's behavior. So the 3 years pandemic creates what we call the new normal. The tourists that came here 3 years back is not the same with the tourists that come here now. They have different expectations. They become different persons. And these are many times are not predicted or are not anticipated by us, especially we that work in the tourism industry. People change, behavior change, and we use the same standard, then conflict happens. This is what we talk about in the next pages. Next. So speaking about sustainable tourism, I would like to make it clear, sustainable tourism is not similar to ecotourism. Ecotourism is one of the components of sustainable tourism. Sustainable is sustainability, means that everything that is related to tourism should be sustainable. What is it that should be sustainable? The first, environment. Environment should be sustainable. Why? Because the sustainable of the environment means that we have to take care of the world, we have to take care of the earth, we have to take care of the water, we have to take care of the forests, we have to take care of the sky. You know why? Because what we enjoy right now does not belong to us. It belongs to the future generation. It belongs to our grandchildren. It's not fair if we destroy the environment, and then we leave it obstructed to the next generation. That is the point why we have to keep the world, we have to keep the earth with all its content sustainable. From tourism perspective, to make the earth sustainable, is that something that can guarantee that Bali will be like that in 100 years to come? If we keep it sustainable, then we can guarantee that we can sell Bali in many 100 years to come. Second, the second component of sustainable tourism is social culture. Social culture should be sustainable. Social means people. People should be happy. People should be getting the economic advantage of being or living in a place that becomes tourist destination. If people are not happy, if people are not getting what they deserve, they will not support the tourism. It happens in many places in Indonesia. Thanks God, Bali can prosper its people from the tourism business. Second is the culture. Culture should be maintained. Culture should be sustainable. Because for Bali, this is one of the key elements that is sold to the world, beside the white sandy beaches, the culinary, the beautiful mountains. What other places which are perceived as exotic places do not have is culture. Bali has a very exotic culture, and that culture practices is demonstrated in public every day. You can imagine if that culture is not maintained. You can imagine if that culture is not respected, then it has something wrong with the government that should guard the environment. And it has something wrong also with the people that should guard the culture. So environment should be sustainable, social and culture should be sustainable. Like I said, if people are not happy, they will not support the tourism. If the culture is not maintained and preserves, what else do you want to sell to the tourism, to the visitors? And the third one is economic sustainability. Economic should sustain, and economic should prosper all the people. That's why in the concept of the sustainable tourism nowadays, it is encouraged for the visitors that come to a place to use local products, to use local chains hotel. Sorry for this one, but this is the concept. It is advised for the tourists, if they want the destination to be sustainable, they have to use local products. They have to deal with the local people. They have to use all belongings, all the properties that are owned and operated by the local people. Because you know why? Because tourism should prosper the local people at the first place. I don't mean to be narrow-minded, okay? But I'm talking about the concept of the pure sustainable tourism. Now, Bapak Ibu sekalian, ladies and gentlemen, if we can keep our environment sustainable, our social and culture sustainable, and our economy sustainable, I mean, it can prosper the people, then we deserve to be called sustainable tourism destinations. If you don't get it, then we have to question ourselves and we have to work hard to achieve that. So next. Now, because I was in New Zealand for 5 years, and I really enjoy my time there. First, of course, because as an ambassador, where I got a chance to get access to many stakeholders, not only in tourism, but also in other businesses. And also, I enjoy my 5 years time in New Zealand because I'm a tourism person. I started my career as a hotelier, but up until now, even though I'm not working in the tourism sector anymore, my blood has always been tourism blood. So living in a country whose primary income from tourism is very enjoyable. Every day I observe what is the best to be taken home and then to be implemented at home. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is one good takeaway that I could share with you from New Zealand is what is called Tiaki Promise. Tiaki, it is coming from Maori language. Tiaki means to care and to protect. What is it all about? This is about an appeal in invitations from the government and the people of New Zealand to the visitors that come to the land to be with them in all ways, in many ways. So the Tiaki Promise is a commitment from all the visitors to care for New Zealand for now and for future generation. As you know, New Zealand is a precious, and everyone who lives and travels here has a responsibility to look after it. So by following the Tiaki Promise, you are making a commitment to New Zealand. Isn't it beautiful? So the Tiaki Promise is put into movies that is telecast or that is shown in the video a few minutes before your arrival. That is not enough. It is also available in the printed materials that you can read all the way in the aircraft or in the airlines flying to New Zealand. So before touching the land of New Zealand, you already know what to do. You already know what to behave. And the result, you get good quality tourists. So again, we cannot take it for granted, once again, like I said in the earlier, that people do understand our culture, people do understand our rules and regulations. I was just back from Australia. I was traveling to Fiji last week. You know what? I was flying Qantas Airlines. Before 15 minutes before touching the land of Australia, you are bombarded with video about what you should do when you are in New Zealand. In Australia. And the same thing done by the New Zealand government. Shortly before, like I said, shortly before you land in New Zealand, you are bombarded with a lot of information through video, printed matters about New Zealand, how they care about their environment, and how you behave. So speaking about Australia once again, despite of visiting that country many times, I always get something new about what I should do, because they always renew the video. They always give you something new about behavior, about your participations to make Australia clean, green, and healthy like what it is today. I think this is one of the best examples that we should also be doing here. You can imagine, so a few minutes or say half an hour before they touch the earth or touch the land of Bali, they are already informed about Trihita Karana, the very noble and beautiful concept of life, which is not possessed by many other people in the world. Only Bali has Trihita Karana. If you do the Trihita Karana, what you get, what you will be awarded is nothing else than happiness. Why don't we share that with the visitors so that they are aware? They are about to land in a very beautiful island with high culture, with good regulations, and highly effective rules and regulations. So when they land, they know how to behave. They know what to expect. Next. Now, I think this is my last slide. I'm not only complaining about what happens, but I'm trying to give some solutions, what I call strategies. So, number one, we have to ensure the long-term sustainability of a destination. I think I spoke a lot about that in the beginning. It is our responsibility. When I say our, it's not only the government, but it's also all the other stakeholder responsibility to make Bali a sustainable destination. So we have to create more and more destination, make it sustainable. We have to take care of our culture, preserve it well, and respect it by making a good example so that the visitors will do the same, and involve the local people as much as possible, and use the local products, and make sure that the economy obtained from the tourism industry should prosper the people, the industry of Bali. Second one, we have to involve local residents in place brandings, mainstreaming regulations, and tourist education. It is all about communication, like what was said by Professor Scott in the beginning. We have to be able to communicate about what Bali is all about, and what Indonesia in a big scale is all about. We have to educate them in a very fun and a very nice way that you are going to land in a very beautiful country with nice people, but then you have to behave. You have to do your part in making our land, in making our country sustainable. And the second one is the fourth one is segmentation and redistributions of tourist flows. I'm not against affordable tourisms or economical tourisms, in contrary to the luxurious tourisms. To me, all of them are good and can contribute to the economy of the people. But we have to be able to segmentize that very well, so that people knows what to expect and people knows what to get when they are here in Bali. And the last one is the advanced research on new and global trends in tourism. I'm talking about digital. So the trends right now, Bapak dan Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, there are three factors that affect the current tourisms. First is the sustainability issue. The tourisms which is not sustainable, or tourism destination which is not sustainable, will not be in favor of the international tourists. Right now, there is a move of the people in the world to be sustainable tourists. So they will respect the countries, they will respect the places which adopt the concept of sustainability. Second, digitalization. We cannot get away from digitalization. Everything will be digitalized, including and first and foremost, tourisms. Tourisms, whether you like it or not, will be digitalized. So it's time for us to learn, for those who are still lacking about that. And for those who are already in that, make it forward, improve it, because people will depend a lot on digital. And the third one is the new normal. Like I said in the beginning again, Bapak Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, there has been a new trend, there has been a new demand due to the long years of COVID that make the tourists that come to Bali a different tourist than they were several years back. Next. Thank you. So I've come to the last page. Sorry for taking too much of your time. I give the screen back to Siwi. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for a very great and insightful presentation. We truly enjoyed all the material you shared about all the issues and concerns about the tourism today, and how it is important to build a sustainable tourist destination in order to build a sustainable tourism itself. So now I would like to invite all the participants who has a question. You could raise your hand or write the question on the chat box, and we'll have our speaker to answer your questions. So for the first one, we have one question already here. Ibu Hani Ernawati, would you like to share your question live to our speaker? Ibu Hani, are you there? Or I'll just read out the question. Sustainable tourism, do you think that is related to local wisdom as well?
Obviously, one of the component of sustainable tourism is culture. Yeah, culture has something to do with the local wisdoms. So the only industry in the world that can gives what they call it a good example to the tourists coming is tourism. So by doing a good example to the tourists, this is one of the takeaways that will be that they will be taking home. I'm talking about Indonesian who are not disciplined, who do not obey the law and regulations. When they go to Singapore for a week, when they get back, when they get home, they change. They become disciplined. They obey the law. This is what they got from tourism, from a visit. Now, Indonesia is known to be a country with a high culture, a lot of local wisdom. We have to demonstrate that. We have to show that in order to aspire that, and will become takeaway when they get home. So they will remember that I got this new good attitude, good habit from my short visit or long visit in Bali. So local wisdom, to me, if I can answer your question correctly, plays very important role in making sustainable tourism, in making Bali sustainable.
Okay, thank you for the first question. The next one, I would like to invite Ibu Nimatun Nasim to ask your question directly to our speaker.
Okay, thank you. Halo Bapak, my name is Nikma. It's very nice to meet you, Bapak Tantowi. I'm a fan of you.
Thank you. You want me to sing?
Okay. Bapak, actually I was a student in Universitas Udayana back in 2019, before COVID-19 comes actually. So I always love talking about tourism. And I'm really happy to see your presentation. It's very insightful and very interesting topic. And I come to I think basic question about how we manage our reputation, especially if that reputation already damaged because of one or two things that already happened. So my question is how we manage or how we solve that problem, especially on digital era, Pak.
Thank you very much for your questions. In answering your question, I would like to use what was said by Professor Noel Scott. First, we have to use all platforms of communications to convey our message, to convey our aspirations to the people out there, for which we need a person. I totally agree with him. We need a spokesperson that can speak on behalf of the tourism industry in Bali. Should be one voice and then spoken by one capable and qualified spokespersons. The message that can be or has been misperceived by the tourists out there should be corrected, should be conveyed in a right way in order not to create misunderstanding, which at the end of the day will impact or will decrease the number of tourists to Bali. So I don't have too many things to add to what was said by Professor Noel Scott just now. So we have to able to communicate very well to the world, especially on the actions taken by the government and the police towards the tourists. I mean, if they behave well, if they obey our rules, nothing will happen to them. But we cannot make exceptions to the rules that we have. It's very unfair. It's very unfair to the local people of being so disciplined and so obedient to the rules and the regulations, and then we get obsession to the visitors. I don't think it happens in all parts of the world. Yeah, the perception of Bali, just like Thailand, Vietnam, and other exotic destinations in the world, the perception has always been the same. And the perception has always been like that. That when you go to Bali, just like you go to Phuket, just like you go to Hanoi, so it's so relaxed. Seems that there is no rules, there is no law. You can do whatever you like. You can behave whatever you wish. This is the perception of people going to our place. So they demand something like that when they arrive in Bali. They want to be free. Okay, but it's our job to correct that, to give them, understanding that we have law here. This is not Wild West. We encourage them to come. We like their business, but we have law that they have to follow, and it has to be conveyed in a very nice and proper way.
Yeah, thank you, Pak.
Most welcome.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Nimatun Asin, for the question. Next, we would like to invite Moko Wijaya to ask the question directly to our speaker.
Good afternoon, Pak Tantowi. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you well.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Pak, little bit noise because this is project from my neighbor. So as long as you can hear my voice, it doesn't matter then. Okay, when we are talking about sustainable tourism, is it much related to the quality tourism? At the moment, we are still facing with what is the indicator of the quality tourism? If sustainable tourism is one of the quality tourism, that might be because one of the aspect of quality tourism is economic prosperity. Look at the now Bali is growing up with the, let's say, like hostel or backpacker guests. I'm personally from Lembongan Island, but there are so many backpackers visit the Lembongan and Nusa Penida Island at the moment. If the sustainable tourism, let's say one of the indicator is the economic prosperity, the price of the accommodation for the backpacker, it might be much cheaper than the price of accommodation compared to the villa or the resort. But they contribute the economic prosperity to the local people, such as random motorbike, dealing with the people in community, doing the snorkeling. That means that give the prosperity, contribute to prosperity to the local people. What do you think? It is considered as a quality tourism if the sustainable tourism is one of the sustainable tourism is one of the quality indicator of quality tourism, Pak Tanto. Thank you, Pak.
Okay. Thank you for your question, Pak. Quality has nothing to do with price. So the affordable tourism can also become quality tourism. So in my definition, quality is what I get is according to the price that I pay. So value for money, right? So if I get the value for money, I can call it a quality tourism. Apalagi, moreover, if I get is beyond the price that I pay. It's a quality tourism. But basically quality tourism is that I got what I pay. If I get what I pay, I can call it quality tourism. Quality tourism, and it potentially makes me come back. So once again, if I can answer your question, speaking about economy, quality does not always refer to the price. Okay, the affordable price can be quality, but the very expensive tourism will not always be quality. They set the price so high, but what I got is does not correspond to the amount of money that I pay. I hope I answered your question.
Sorry, sorry, I forgot to mute the speaker. So at the moment, some of the people always concerned about quality tourism is related to the price. So how we now change the mind of the people, especially for those who work in tourism industry, that the price is not. The price, it might be a small indicator of the quality tourism, but it's not the main indicator of the quality tourism. So that is my, because some of the people say, oh, Komodo Island is too expensive. That is considered as quality tourism. That need to be socialized to the people. But that the price is not, the cheap price is not considered as what we say, that is not one indicator of the quality tourism. Alright, Pak Tanto Yahya, thank you for your clarification, Pak Tanto Yahya. Have a good day then.
Thank you for your questions.
Thank you. So due to the time, maybe I'll open one last question to Ananda Ramadhani. Would you like to ask your question live?
Hello.
Hello.
Clearly?
Hello, Ananda.
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for the material, and it's an honor for me to ask these questions. So here's my questions. As we know, tourism industries are evolved from time to time, and yet the practice are getting biased, cultural bias and behavioral bias. And how do we control and measure the biases? Thank you so much.
Okay, if I can repeat your questions, tourism industries are evolved from time to times, and yet the practice are getting biased, cultural bias and behavior bias. How do we control and measure the bias? Can you explain more about this? What do you mean by bias here, Ananda?
Okay, like earlier mentioned before, the issues are the foreigner in Bali are getting rude, getting rude and getting more wild in this many times, and I think it's getting biased from the local itself, like riding motorcycle without helmets and riding motorcycle through the path, the walk-through path, and then I assume that the foreigner is biased by their cultural and local behavior. So yes,
Okay,
that's what I meant.
okay. This is the result of the perceptions of the people out there about visiting exotic island like Bali, like Phuket in Thailand, as explained by Professor Scott in the beginning. So in their head, in their mind, when they are in Bali, everything is so relaxed. Yeah, there is no law. You can do anything you like. And when they are here, for quite some times, they got what they wanted. I mean, there was no law enforcement. They were free as they wanted to be, right? So when they come back, they want to do the same thing. When we then instill our law to them, and then they complain, because last time I didn't do this, you didn't do anything to me. Or they learn from their friends who came to Bali, who could do, as free as he wanted, and then he spread the news to his friend, and then his friends, when they came to Bali, they have that perception. So everything is so relaxed in Bali. You can do anything you like. And I think this is what has to be corrected and improved in the future. I mean, law is law. It has to be imposed. It has to be imposed to everyone, not only to the locals, but also to the visitors. They have to obey, and they have to respect our law. And to make it work, then we got to have a proper police. So the necessity of having a tourism police, I think, is in a very urgent mode right now. So the difference between normal police and the tourism police, one of which lies on the ability to speak English. Because as you understand, many, not only police, people, who have authority to deal with the tourists, they refuse to deal with the tourists because of their capability, of the language capability. So let it go. Now, it should not happen in the future, I guess. So for tourist destinations like Bali, we have to have tourism police that can speak, that can communicate nicely, that can communicate in proper way with the tourisms, including how they warn and then how they tell the tourists about what they should behave or what they should be doing when they are in Bali.
Okay, thank you so much for your answers, and carry on.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you to all the participants who already asked their question to our speaker. And we still have a lot of questions here in the chat box, but unfortunately, due to the time, we have to stop here. Let's continue the discussion on the next session. So I would like to conclude from today's presentation by Mr. Ambassador that we have to all be aware on the issues and concerns of the tourism nowadays in order to be able to manage our reputation. And speaking of sustainable tourism, it is important for us to be aware on the environmental aspect, social culture aspect, and also the economic aspect. And we also Mr. Ambassador also shared about interesting learning point from New Zealand that hopefully one day we can implement here to introduce our culture and all of our value to our tourism itself. So before I close this first speaker session in the second session, maybe Mr. Ambassador, would you like to say a closing remark?
Okay. Once again, I would like to thank you, Mr. Sudayana, for giving me a chance to speak this afternoon, and I hope what I just shared with you is useful. Second, I would like to thank you, Siwi, for conducting a very good conversation and chat this afternoon, so that you can explore a lot more from me. So in short, what I just said is an appeal for everyone to make Bali a sustainable tourism. To make Bali sustainable tourism, there are three components. First, the environment should be sustainable. It's our job to take care of the environment, the water, the land, the woods or the forest and the sky, they should be in a proper shape because they don't belong to us. They belong to the next generation. And we should be able to pass the earth in a very good shape to the next generation. So by having that, then we can assure that the tourism in Bali will continue for 100 years. Second, it has to be involving as much as possible the social or the community, and the culture should be well preserved, maintained, and respected. And the third one, tourism that comes from sustainable tourism should be able to prosper the people. When people are happy, they will support that. When money will go to most of them, they will love tourism and they will not go away from the industry that has prospered them. So that's all from me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador, for your insightful presentation and very fruitful discussion today. And as token of appreciation, we would like to give the certificate for your time today as our invited speaker on seminar Destination Reputation and How to Manage. Once again, thank you very much, Ambassador Tantowi Yahya, for sharing your time today and share your knowledge and experience about building a winning destination reputation. We truly appreciate your time here joining us amidst your busy schedule. On behalf of Udayana University and the organizing committee, I would like to say thank you for your time. Stay safe and stay healthy, and we look forward to have a more fruitful and insightful discussion with you in the near future. Thank you very much. All right, so now we're going to continue for our second session. We'll have our second speaker who will be joining us. We will have Ms. Osi Indrawardani as the Head of Marketing, Media and Partnership of GDP Venture. Good afternoon, Ms. Osi.
Good afternoon, thank you, Mbak Siwi.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great. So we'll have another interesting discussion today from Ms. Osi, but before that, let me read a very short bio of Ms. Osi Indrawardani. So she's passion for marketing led her to pursue a master's degree in the subject from Prasetya Mulia Bandung School, a few years after graduating with a degree in accounting from Parahyangan Catholic University in Bandung. With nearly 30 years experience in the field, Ms. Osi has honed her expertise in product and brand management, having worked for both multinational and local companies such as McCann, Ericsson, XL Axiata, Smartfren, Nokia, Telkomsel, and Asus Global. Her contributions have been instrumental in the success of various projects, including the introduction of WhatsApp as a platform chat application in Indonesia. So without further ado, I would like to hand over the floor to Ms. Osi Indrawardani to give your presentation. So time is yours.
Okay, makasih Mbak Siwi. Good afternoon, all the distinguished guests, the Honorable Professor Chok Oke Sukawati, Professor Noel Scott, and Ambassador Tantowi Yahya. Om Swastiastu, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Thank you for inviting me to talk about the managing reputation Bali. I love Bali, and I wish that today I'm in Bali now. Okay, perhaps we can start, but before I start, the presentation will be shared by me or will be shared by the operator.
You can share your presentation by yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone can see my screen. Sorry, it's not here yet. Okay, everyone can see my share now. Yeah, okay. So today I'm going to talk about the how to manage the reputation for Bali, but I'm not going to talk only for PR because there are a lot of activities that we can do for Bali actually. So let me start. Everyone's already know Bali from its beauty, about the beaches, about the greenery, about the friendly people. So they are refers Bali as islands of the gods. But here here the proof, right? As you see, they were so international celebrities. They like to visit Bali, and they share it to their followers that actually Bali is very beautiful, and they really like to to visit Bali. And even the wonderful Indonesia promoted Bali for all the digital nomad to work to Bali. So this is very important for us to keep them coming here, then and to keep to the digital nomad or all the investor to come to Bali without they're feeling worry about what happened recently in Bali. Okay, so as we know that Bali is the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful place in the world, right? But even the most beautiful place in the world need to maintain the reputation because why? Because if not, it will bring the significant negative economic consequences. Let's say one of the audience as said about the how the tourists ran the for their surfing board and also ran the the vehicle from the locals, and that's still economics. So it's not only for the big platform to get all the money, but we are doing like sharing economic here. Okay, so this is the framework before we are doing what we call the managing the reputation. We have to do the analysis first. What is the problem? What is the issues? And then we have to identify the opportunities, how to tackle the problem. And we have to create the strategy uh, from that listening, right? So we can setting the goal, we can setting the audience segmentation. We have to choose the right channel, the right tactics, and also after that, what's the performance analytic that we are going to use. And then after that, we are starting to do the ideation, the brainstorming, or which activities that's the most suitable with the problem, how to tackle the problem. And then after that, execution. And then after that, we have to measure. We have to measure very quickly. Why? Immediately, because because there sometimes it's never the wrong and the right? Even the best consultant, sometimes they have to test the market, whether the activities it's the correct one or not. If not correct one, it's okay to be to do the mistake, but you have to you have to revise it immediately too. Okay, so this is all the news about Bali. Yeah, we are trying to get it from the news, but we this news is from last week. So if we if we analyze the news 2 days ago, it will be different. The news will be different. So we have to find the listening tools you can find it in the internet, the free listening tools, or you even have to, even you can pay for the listening tools. Okay, so for the listening tools, this is one of our companies from GDP Venture, SHC, that's doing all the monitoring. So the top issues is about the fake motorcycles number plates, about the people's not wearing a helmet, about the riding a motorcycle without clothes, and vandalism at elementary school, taking naked photos in sacred places, protests about the roaster crowds, and also work illegally. Okay, so this is all the top issues that we listen from all the news and for all the social media. Okay, so what we do now, we are also do the social listening analyzing from the top Bali top 10 visitors countries. So from the Australia, Russia, India, South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, UK, US, China, and also Germany. So we would like to know what's their comment about this, about the Bali. So here the story from the 10 top Bali visitors country. And the top topics is about the motorcycle ban, about Little Moscow in Bali, and also about the Bogans in Bali. And if you can see the sentiments it's don't see the totals, but from the sentiments we can see this everything is all negative about Bali. So this is what we worry, that the negative news from other countries will easily impact to the decision of visiting Bali. So we see also the sentiment from many channels, not only from the news portal, but also from the social media and other quite similar than social media, like a forum, like a Reddit, like Buzz, and such. And if we see that's from China, Indonesia, it's natural for them, right? But mostly here, some social media already put all the negative sentiments from about Bali, and this is not good, right? For the destination, this is not good, and the positive it's declining. So I think we have to do something about this. Okay, so then Bali, days ago, Bali government's plans to ban the tourist motorbike. So tourists has to rent the motorbike from the travel platform or for a travel agent here. But this negative, we are so worried, right? I think there's audience also from the last questions asked about how about they are stopped of visiting Bali because of this regulation, but turn out to be it's positive by netizen. So again, don't assume anything until you see the proof, until you see the data, and then you can assume. Because who are visiting Bali is not only people who like, do everything they want to do to Bali, but also people who respect Bali. So they just want to go to Bali and with responsible, and they also responsible for the residents. So they don't want to do the misbehavior there. Okay, so I think Bali can improve safety through strict policies, like revoking visa on arrival. They have, like if we go to overseas, we have to submit all our financial things, and we have to submit everything so we can get visa, and also about banning motorcycle rentals. But again, even though we have like a positive sentiments from the netizen, we still have to careful implementation about these policies, because we would like to avoid the negative impact on tourism. And to attract security conscious tourists, I think Bali needs not only the effective communication, but also the meaningful experience. So, so everyone can see that this peaceful Bali, it's actually it's not for only for Bali or only for the government to get, you know, positive, positive in the world, but somehow, because it's over the comfort and safety for the visitors. It's not only for us as Bali residents, as Bali government, but that's for visitors. Okay, so I just said about that. What we should do is not only about the effective communication, but we also have the meaningful experience. So for the PR, we can do the PR crisis, influencer, and also the advertorial placement in the right channel. We can have the integrated communication about the movement, about the mini-series, social media campaign, and also we involve the influencer also perhaps with the event or something else. We can also, for the meaningful experience, we can involve the commerce about they can do the travel package, online shopping, they can do the loyalty reward, we can do they can, you know, place all in every single tourism place. And also we can do technology. I'm not going to say about the technology here because it's perhaps confusing, but I'm going to explain later in the slides. Okay, so before we do all of this, we have to understand some things, right? About the audience segments, we are going to target it. Because now what we worry about is about people who come to Bali. Is it going to be they are no longer visiting Bali because we implement the strict policies? So our audience segment is the visitors who are in research space. Research about how about going to Bali. They are planning to do some activities in Bali and so on. Perhaps if we can dip more, perhaps it is more to international visitors, because the local visitors they already, you know, get used to wearing a helmet in other cities in Indonesia, so it's not problem if they come to Bali do the same thing. So the objective is to convey that the rules that we implement, it's not only for us but benefiting everyone, for the visitors and also for the residents in Bali. And if you want to know how we can do it, how we can place the communication, of course we have to find the right channel for this. You can buy, or you can post, or you can have like partnership with the international publishers. You can work together with the influencers that have a massive global followers. So so you can actually do everything that you think it's the most fit with this current condition. So the metric of success, this is very important that you set the goal, that you set the number of the metric of success. This is the sample. So for example, the metric of success is you increase the positive sentiment to 70%, and you can also put that you would like to decrease the negative sentiments to 20%, because negative sentiments is never going to be zero. Why? Because it is very subjective. So everyone can say their opinion. Perhaps some good things for me is not good for everyone. But what we want to do now is the good things is really good for most of them, for most of us. Jadi most of the residents and most of the visitors. Perhaps not 100%, but most of them. Okay, so we already know the target market. So the target audience is the people who are in the research phase. Who are they? They can be the surfers, they can be international tourists, they can be local tourists also, they can be families, they can be spa enthusiasts, they can be party goers, and everyone's. The idea is you have campaign for all of this target market, but if you have, like, we can call it, what we have now is crisis. If in a crisis phase, let's just do everything that can cater to everyone. So we are going to divide it into two activities. One is for the effective communication, and the other one is for the meaningful experience. So let's go through the effective communication first. So we have to do the positioning and the tagline for how we are going to do this. So the positioning here is Bali is the paradise to live in for everyone, and the positioning is to ensuring a safe and comfortable environment for all who call this island home. Okay, so the short visitors also will call is going to call Bali is a home when they are there. So everyone will call Bali as a home. So the key message is we are going to say that relax responsibly. You are going to Bali, you are even the short visitors and the long visitors, they would like to have a relaxed life. Who doesn't, right? So, but you have to do the relax responsibly means that you have to preserve Bali as it to be, as it always was. So the tagline for me, perhaps in this stage, is how to keep Bali chill. Okay, so what's the means of keep Bali chills to the Bali residents, to tourists, to investors? So to Bali residents is, if Bali is peaceful, it's bring positive effects and improve economy prospect and better quality life to them, right? If Bali is peaceful, of course, more visitors will come. They will have the more opportunity for their economy. Even though they are small business, they are UMKM, so they are big companies, everyone will get their pie for this. For tourists, I think you still can get fun, even though you have to wear helmet, even though you have to wear your clothes everywhere you go, you will still get fun, right? But again, if you are going, if you promoted Bali, keep Bali chills, it's strengthening the message about that that Bali is safety, is a very peaceful environment. The beauty somehow is looks more prominent, and also the cultural heritage, it's more beauty than before, and most of all, it feels comfortable for them. For investors, of course, they will see Bali is not only for one time. It's not only for short period. They are going to see Bali for the long investment, a long time. So they have to feel confident in put their money in Bali, and make sure that Bali is the right place for them to put all their money there, right? So we have to make sure that everyone's in Bali support this Bali peaceful atmosphere. Okay, so what we can do, right? This is for the PR So the PR, actually, we can do the message, we can do strengthen the message with contents. We can work together with the media, or even we can pay the media to publish the contents, talk about Bali. And also we can place it. It's not only to some news platforms, but you can work together with the social media that has so many followers, or the travel social media across the world. And you can also create positive impact activity, meaning if you ban the motorcycle because there are some people's not wearing helmets, perhaps before you do that, you can show them the goodwill. You can show them the kindness by you can distributing the helmet to every international tourist that not yet wearing helmet. Instead, instead the local police just scold them right away. I think this is something more impactful. Perhaps they will feel like embarrassing because they are not wearing it until someone give them helmet, something like that. I think this is a very good activity that you can do it. And you can also engage credible influencer here. As we know from news, right? Chris Hemsworth is just recently came here, and he's really following all the rules. So perhaps we can consider him as the influencer. But perhaps you will engage like the travel platform to be your influencers. Okay, here, this is the top media and influencer. Again, we are running with the data. So there are tools, many of tools that you can use for running this data. Okay, as you see, because it's just recently happened, Chris Hemsworth's name is in the top influencers. And for the media, you can see here BBC News. It's the top media about Bali. So when you run these tools, you have to do correctly. So you're not only just running by what the top media, but you can say that what is the top media for traveling, for tourism, something. So the data will be not misleading. Okay, so this is okay. This is Rich Brian. Actually, Rich Brian is one of our artists. He is 88 rising artist, and we invest in 88 rising artists. So he create a song called Bali. Rich Brian's now he is now stay in Los Angeles, and he is well known now globally. So perhaps we can engage him because he's Indonesian. He must love Bali. He must proud of his country. So perhaps we can engage him and talk about Bali, about safety in Bali, about how to respect Bali to the world, right? And instead of considering Chris Hemsworth, and perhaps if you also have budget, perhaps you are work together with the movie production to produce the movie, or to produce the mini series to promote about Bali, and how that you have to wearing helmet in the movie. You have to respect everything in the Bali, respects the religious days in Bali, religions, a ceremony in Bali, something like that. Okay, so that's PR. So we also can do the 360 integrated campaign. It means that you are not only doing like distributing news, publish some news, or you are just posting some social media. You ask the influencer to talk more about Bali, and you are do some good activity, kind activities that relevant to this to current issue. But you also can post. You can post the about Bali everywhere, even not only in in, within in Indonesia. Currently some of Indonesian brand, they really love to advertise them in the New York signboard, right? So perhaps we can do that also, to post, or you have like a um short video that you can post it you can publish it in the New York signboard. And perhaps we can do event. This is I believe this is also in New York. You can also do some kind of event to introduce again about Bali in overseas, and talk about how to go to Bali, why we do this, why we have strict policies. It's not because we are a very strict country, but we are very concerned about your safety and comfort when you're visiting in Bali. Okay, so the effective communications, perhaps some things that it's uh it's very easy to do it, right? It's very common to do it. So I think it has to be combined with the meaningful experience where people will get excited more about Bali. Okay, so you can do commerce. Okay, so you can work together with some of the commerce platform. This is a sample. All of this is part of our portfolio. We invest in all of this. So perhaps ticket.com, they can do something promotion about going to Bali. And this is Get Plus. Get Plus is the loyalty points. So perhaps they can add more merchants, exchange merchants to Get Plus, all from the Bali. So people in Jakarta, they can exchange their loyalty point to for example, hotel in Bali. So it make them want to go to Bali because they have discount to go there, right? And this is Blibli. Perhaps they can do the festival Bali in Blibli. And this is also from our company. They have like vending machine. Perhaps we can locate all this vending machine with Oleh Bali or UMKM Bali products in several tourism spots in Bali. So all the tourists, they can very easily to reach out to buy all the products, the Bali products, when they are visiting Bali. They don't have to go only doing in last minutes in the airport, for example. So they can do it every time. Okay, so this is technology. So I think this is the right time to start implementing the smart city, right? We can get the visitor data with the
Miss
smart
Osi, sorry to interrupt you. You have 1 more minute left for your presentation.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, so we can know our visitors. So we can have like a central ID. So when the visitors come from airport, they can also check in from this ID to the hospital, to the hotel, and some of the places without they have to, put the form again. And also we can do secure visitor counting and tracking here by biometric. So we know if someone's do violation or someone do illegal selling or something else here. And also for Bali government, they can have a better data on how Bali visitors spend times in Bali. And this is also the next gen chatbot. So we can leverage the chat GPT. And so everyone who wants to do event in Bali, they can know all the, all the rules in Bali when they do the event. Okay, I think this is the last slide. So this is also the technology and commerce. So we already know the biometry. So you can put the biometry. If they are abide the rules, they follow the rules, then they get points, and the points can be exchanged in the merchant partners. So this is my last slide. So I think the success of this program can be done alone. It has to be support by governments consistently implement the rules. So if the government has already make the regulation that everyone has to wear helmet or has to wear clothes in every place, so yeah, they have to implement the rewards and punishment system as well to all the tourists and even all the residents. Okay, this is just about us. You can actually read it. I can share this presentation with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Osi, for a very interesting and very insightful presentation. We learned a lot from your presentation, especially one thing that I would like to highlight, that it is important for every destination to maintain its reputation, that image, even a beautiful place or famous place still needs to be able to maintain its destination. All right, for the next session, I would like to open a question and answer session. So for those who would like to ask question to Ms. Osi, you can raise your hands up or write your question in the chat box. So please, to all the participants, if you have any question. Pak Sidi Bayu, would you like to ask question? I see your hands, you raise your hands.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Moderator. Also, thank you very much for Ms. Osi. Yeah. Hello, Ms. Osi. How are you?
Hello, Pak Sidi. I'm
Good.
fine, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, your passionate and powerful presentation is very interesting to watch, yeah, and to hear, and also to discuss. Yeah, but we have just short time here. But whatever, hopefully, tourism stakeholders in Bali can unite to voice sustainable tourism development in Bali, as mentioned, yeah, as stated by Professor Scott. Yeah, my question is. This is a little bit different, yeah. In your opinion, what is the role of Balinese women today as part of the pressure group, yeah, in making Bali even better from all sides, yeah?
Okay, sorry, Pak, come again?
Yeah. In your opinion, yeah, what is the role of Balinese women today, yeah, as a part
Bali what,
of
Pak?
the Balinese woman, yeah?
Bali?
Balinese woman, wanita Bali.
Oh, Bali women.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
As a part of the pressure group in supporting or in making Bali even better from all sides in support tourism development, sustainable tourism development in Bali. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not come from Bali, so I don't know exactly what Balinese women occupation in Bali, and but it seems like I think everyone's in Bali have to do the same portion to maintain about the reputation of Bali. It's not only women, it's not only men, but even the kids there, the children there also have to start, doing the reputation in Bali. So when I visit Bali, it's bit different with my experience when I visiting the other part of Indonesia, because even the little kids, they can speak English very well. So I think they already, be parts in the maintaining Bali reputation. Why? Because they can, communicate very well with all the tourists, the international tourists. They can also communicate well in the local tourists. So if so, everyone's come to Bali will have no difficulties at all in terms of language. So that's already been in the top of mind of all the tourists when they come Bali. That's part of reputation. For the Balinese women, I think when every time I go to Bali, I saw the Balinese women. It's not in the traditional only in traditional way, but they also they are a very hard worker, if I may say that. Okay, so they work. Sometimes they come to the beach and they are approach our the tourists, not only local, not only international, but also local for their service. There's yeah, I that's also for the some of them, months ago, there's a very there were not a very good news about that because they are kind of like push the tourists to to get the service for them, right? And then, but now when I visit Bali, the last time I visit Bali, I think last month, and I saw that I saw that all these women's it's very nice. They already implement, they are follow the rules that they are not going to really chase the tourists or push the tourists to get their service. That's also consider as maintaining the reputation of Bali. And yeah, also for the for to support the culture for the Bali women, we are no doubt that they do their parts very well in all the ceremony, and they are do their traditional dress very well. Even because of them, because I saw them, I bought some of Bali's kabaya for myself because of that. That's part of reputation. You don't have to mention that they have to do. They have to go to the association. They have to work in association or a bigger internationals like a foundation or association to be part to promote about Bali. That's very far from me. For daily activities, they already support maintaining the very good reputation of Bali.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean that by your name, you look like Balinese, Wardani, the Balinese name. But you know a lot about the Bali. Yeah, I hope as a lecturer and also graduate from the doctoral tourism program at Udayana, I hope that the women in Bali will take more chance and time, to be leading in tourism industry and tourism expert. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Pak Sidi and Ms. Osi, for answering the question. For the next participant, if you have any question, please raise your hands up or write the question on the chat box. All right, while waiting for others to join us in this question and answer session, maybe I would like to ask a question to Ms. Osi. It was a very interesting presentation that you mentioned earlier, how it is important for us to strengthen the key message and have a very effective communication in order to create a comfort and safety destination. And you also mentioned a lot about creating campaign in order to increase the reputation of tourist destination. My question would be, what are the key points that we have to put in mind, or the things that we must pay attention when we're creating a campaign in order to be able to increase the reputation of a tourist destination itself?
Okay, so the campaign, you really have to put in your mind that when you're creating a campaign, it's not only for the visitors, but also for the Bali residents. Uh, uh, so if your campaign is good, only good for them, and it's not that good for the Bali residents. It's feels like it's nothing, right? So you have to write down all the stakeholders of this campaign, the Bali resident, the visitors, the women, the kids, or everyone's. So you know the what is the key message that you have to do for start developing a campaign.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Osi, for the answer. So we must pay attention in creating campaign that we're not only thinking our audiences itself, but we have to think our point of view as well. So I will check again if there is any question. Is there any of the participants that would like to ask? I'll open one last session due to the time limit. We have a very limited time here. Okay, not yet. So maybe one last question from myself, Ms. Osi. How do you view on today's Indonesia tourist destination reputation, and what are maybe in your point of view our biggest homework in order to keep on increasing our reputation in the international image?
Okay, actually, the biggest issue is not campaigning creating the campaign, but about the consistency with the between the government and also the whoever is going to do the campaign, right? Because if you do the campaign but the government is not really consistent to support, for example, about you do the content about how we implement the strict rules for the comfort and safe, but the government's not really giving the punishment for everyone who are not following the rules. It's just like why you have to do this campaign? It's just like they're just wasting time. It's just like wasting time, wasting money to do the campaign, and then at the end of the day, everyone will think that any rules that's implemented in Bali is not real rules, right? It's just rules that you can just disobey, something like that.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Osi. We still have 2 more minutes left, and there's one question from the audience here. Mr. Inyoman Gentas, would you like to ask your question straight away to Ms. Osi? Mr. Inyoman Gentas?
I think he already put the
Yeah,
question.
he wrote down the question on the chat box, so I'll just gonna read it out for you. So how can we improve the knowledge of our generation, of our ladies as a generation?
Okay, does it means that how to improve the knowledge of women in Bali, something like that?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Okay, so again, I'm not stay in Bali, and I'm not I never stay a very long time in Bali, so I have to do the insight first, right? What happened? But we cannot push everyone to, if they're still children, they can go to school and get can get the education. So again, the government has to stick with the rules that everyone, including girl, can they have to go to the schools until certain age of until certain level of the school or certain age. But for the women that already graduate for school or never have opportunity go to schools in the past, they can, I think in Bali they have like a community, right? In some of area, they can start, do like a course, or they do like a small education forum just to educate ladies, educate these women on how they can, fit in with this current situation. um, Perhaps if the this current situation is required, they know about the trend about social media or something. They can have like a short course about the how to do the social media very well. It's not only for, taking picture, taking selfies or something, but they can promoting Bali through of it, something like that. So I have to do the insight first, and then we can know the problem, and then we can come out with the solution.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Osi, for the answers and great question from Bapak Wayan Nyoman Gentas. I'm sorry. So I would like to conclude your presentation today. We've learned a lot and received a very insightful ideas from you and a great case study that you presented. So one of the things that we have to highlight that it is important for us to maintain an effective communication and also manage public relation in order to manage our reputation and increase our image in a global society as a tourist destination as well. So thank you so much, Ms. Osi, for your time. Would you like to say any closing remarks for today's presentation?
Okay. So everyone's, I think, every day we will deal with different problem, right? But if we work together for like Bali residents and also for governments to keep maintaining the reputation together, not only one party, but both parties, I think Bali will keep excellence. And also this reputation strategy is not only an ad hoc implementation. You have to keep doing it, even though with the different ways. It's not meaning that you have to do the similar ways. You can do everything, but you have to consistently make Bali as a great places to live in.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Osi. So before we close this session, we would like to give you a e-certificate as a token of appreciation for your great presentation today. So thank you so much, Ms. Osi Wardani, for sparing your time today to share your knowledge and experience about managing destination reputation. We truly appreciate your time here today to share your knowledge with us. And on behalf of Udayana University and the organizing community, we would like to say thank you, and we look forward to have a more fruitful and insightful discussion with you in the near future. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you.
Well, that was the end of the second panel session. And now we would like to also present certificate as a token of appreciation to our moderator in this second session. So this is the certificate to Ibu Prasiwi Bestari, the moderator for the second session. Thank you so much for leading a very interactive sessions. We have two interesting sessions with two speakers. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, by this we have come to the end of our online seminar today. So yes, we know that reputation can contribute to a tourist's decision to visit a destination or not, and it also affects their consumption behavior as it is very related to the consumer's loyalty. So we have a lot of insights from all of the speakers today. So thank you so much once again to Professor Noel Scott from the University of Sunshine, Australia, and then also Bapak Tantowi Yahya, the president of the United University Foundation, and also Ibu Osi. Thank you so much from GDP Ventura. Well, ladies and gentlemen, all of our participants, thank you so much as well for your active participations. We have all of the best participants during this online seminar. Thank you so much for all of the feedbacks as well as the questions during the discussion session. Well, before we close, we would like to also remind you once again, please do check the chat box and also click the link provided there because we have the attendance list that you have to complete and also the feedback form later on. So all of the material can also be accessed through the link there. So once again, thank you so much, and thank you so much as well to all of the sponsors that supporting this online seminar. And I'm Dian Ariswari on behalf of all of the organizing committee signing off. Hopefully this online seminar will bring benefits to the improvements of tourism destination, especially in Bali. Let's achieve together because it needs all of the participations of the stakeholders to make Bali as a sustainable and also quality tourism destination. Thank you so much once again. Enjoy your time and have a great day. Om Santi 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 Om. Good evening.